He gazed once more at the hills and countrysides surrounding the crater-filled and demolished buildings of the once great dockyard, with several rusted, twisted metallic hulks strewn around, the corpses of a once proud fleet. Tears welled up in his eyes as he inhaled deeply, with the knowledge that he would never return. He composed himself and strode purposely with the young woman by his side. They walked past the escorts, who fell in behind them and marched towards the large black U-boat. The vessel gently rolled from side to side, moved by rippling waves of the gentle spring tide. The group walked up to the foot of the submarine's gangplank. The party stopped and a man addressed a senior officer. "Everything set, Hans?" the man inquired. Hans snapped smartly to attention and confirmed that everything was going according to plan. He informed them that the submarine's crew were being detained in a forward compartment, but once they had boarded and settled into their quarters, he would release the crew and they would set sail. The man glanced at his car parked several yards away. He seemed to ignore this insignificance and addressed Hans again. "Well done, SS Oberfuhrer. What about the other matter?" The officer removed a photograph from his pocket and gave it to him. He studied it for a few moments and then handed it to the woman, who looked, smiled and placed the picture in a handbag. "Very well, Hans. Let's get under way." He walked up the walkway, with the young blonde woman at his side. Without turning back, they went inside the side hatch of the conning tower. SS Oberfuhrer Hans Kruger was a tall, well-built man, a domineering presence who commanded both respect and fear. Although primarily a commando, his real forte was far more sinister. He took his orders from two men, the first from his boss, SS Grubenführer Heinrich Müller, and the other had just entered the submarine. Hans remained on the dockside and marched over to the two escort soldiers. The two young soldiers stood erect and motionless. "You have served the fatherland well. Your parents will be proud." Hans removed his pistol from his holster, placed the barrel against one of the young officer's forehead, and fired a shot between his eyes, killing him instantly. The other soldier remained still, his eyes squinting slightly under the rim of his black peaked cap before his end came. Hans carried the lifeless bodies over to the parked car. He removed a container of nitropalmer from the car's boot. He doused a flammable mix over the corpses and car, which he ignited. The flames spread as Hans calmly walked up the gangway onto the vessel. The U-boat became a hive of activity as seamen came out of the hatchways and casted off the mooring lines. The captain and several crew members went to the conning bridge. The captain gave orders to the deck crew to make ready to shove off. It was a well-orchestrated routine, carried out and performed many times by this experienced and battle-hardened crew. Both the deck and the conning tower crew looked at the burning Mercedes, but because of the atrocities they had witnessed over the past few years, merely chose to ignore it as they readied the U-boat to set sail. The submarine's bow slewed away from the jetty and headed towards the mouth of the small port of Farge. The U-boat moved away from the dockside and, like a sleek whale, gently eased its way into open water. Captain Carl Victor watched as the U-boat picked up speed and its country faded into the distance behind him. There was a large explosion that echoed from the jetty as the nitro mix reached the critical temperature and blew the Mercedes and its occupants to smithereens. The captain stroked the black rubber stealth coating of the conning tower and listened to the battery banks whirring as they reached 17 knots. "This is truly a magnificent machine," he thought. "With this U-boat we could have won the war." He removed his cap to get some air to his head and looked at the instruments and gauges. "7th Adam, sir," shouted the dive officer from the intercom. "Very well. Prepare to dive the boat and level out at 4 meters, ordered the captain. "Yes, sir," the dive officer confirmed, and he ordered the crew to open the main vents, rig out bow planes and set down 10 degrees. A sudden bustle of motion confirmed the crew's compliance, and the captain gave the order, "Dive the boat." Sirens wailed to alert the occupants that the boat was about to submerge. The captain exited the conning tower, closed the hatch behind him, and went down into the control room. His thoughts were on the cargo, which he knew was looted treasure. The captain also realized that they were transporting special human cargo, but because he, along with his crew, had been locked up in the forward torpedo compartment and closely guarded by black uniform-clad SS soldiers, he hadn't been able to discover the identity of the passenger. Hans came into the control room and handed the captain a sealed envelope. "Here are your orders," he snapped at the captain, who tore open the envelope and read its contents. The war-weary, haggard commander then gave orders to the control room crew. "Helmsman, starboard 15, steer 350, down planes 10 degrees, make our depth 15 meters. The helmsman repeated the order aloud and pushed forward on the helm control. The captain picked up the boat's intercom and ordered all officers to join him in the wardroom. He went to his chart table and took out the charts to their destination. Captain Victor and Hans Kruger left the control bridge. The vessel angled down, and the electric boot gracefully glided under the cold grey North Sea.